The Xbox 360 era gave us some truly great racing games: Forza Motorsport, Burnout Paradise, Need for Speed, but not every great racer got the spotlight it deserved. Hidden among the heavy hitters were a few absolute gems, creative, stylish, and endlessly fun, that quietly became fan favourites for those who discovered them. In this video, we're taking a ride through 5 underrated Xbox 360 racing games that still hold up today. There's no ranking here, just 5 great titles that deserve a second lap around the track. So in no particular order, let's kick things off with one of the smoothest, most stylish racers ever made: Outrun Online Arcade. Sumo Digital and Sega brought this legendary arcade series to the Xbox 360 in 2009, giving fans a gorgeous HD update, or conversion really, of Outrun 2006 coast to coast. The setup is pure arcade bliss. You, your Ferrari, an open road, and branching paths that let you choose your route in real time. Every track oozes that classic Sega charm: palm trees, coastal highways, sunsets, and of course, that incredible soundtrack. It's fast, fluid, and built around drifting, simple to play, but surprisingly hard to master. Now, I spent a lot of time with 2006 Coast to Coast when I was younger, and I'm pleased to say that I also spent a lot of time with Online Arcade as well, and they are both fantastically addictive games. And whilst there isn't actually that much game in Online Arcade, with all the different branching paths, there's still quite a lot to keep you coming back, and you gotta keep trying to beat your high score. Visually, both the environment and the cars look fantastic. It's all bright, it's all colourful, it's all just pure arcade gold. Sadly, Outrun Online Arcade was delisted due to Ferrari licensing issues, so unless you already own it, it's kinda tough to play today, and not to mention the 360 store is now gone anyway. So the game had 15 courses and 10 licensed Ferraris. It also had online head-to-head play for up to 6 players, but the main selling point was definitely having Outrun in HD graphics. Now, interestingly enough, the release of this game was prior to Microsoft raising the maximum size of Xbox Live Arcade titles up to 2 GB, which actually happened later that same year, but because of this, Sumo Digital had only 350 megabytes to fit the game in. So that's probably why there isn't so much game here, because they physically couldn't fit it in. Now, it would have been nice to have seen some more added back as DLC, but that never happened, and then the game was delisted like a year later anyway. Now, in terms of review scores, the 360 version holds a 79 out of 100 on Metacritic, with the PS3 port holding just 1 score lower at 78. And whilst we don't have any accurate sales figures for this game because of it being an online exclusive, it was first in sales on the Xbox Live Arcade for the first 2 weeks following its release, so it must have sold pretty well. Sadly though, this is the latest entry in the series, so it has been over 15 years since we've had a new release. I'd love to see Sega go back to this series, but perhaps they haven't worked out a licensing deal with Ferrari, or perhaps they're just not interested in revisiting it. But maybe one day. I hope. But if you were lucky enough to experience this game at the time, you'd probably agree with me here. This is what racing games are all about. It's just pure driving joy. So next up, we're leaving the tarmac and Ferraris behind for something a little bit wetter. Hydro Thunder Hurricane. Hydro Thunder Hurricane was developed by Vector Unit and published by Microsoft, releasing on the 360 exclusively in July 2010. It would later get ported onto PC in November 2012. And this game is the sequel to the 90s arcade game Hydro Thunder. Now, much like Outrun, everything about this game screams arcade. The water physics, the over-the-top tracks, the massive jumps, and the secret shortcuts. It's pure chaos, but in the best possible way. Each environment feels alive: ancient temples, arctic glaciers, tropical islands, even stormy dams with massive waves that throw your boat around. It's also surprisingly technical, mastering how to use boost, cut corners, and land jumps cleanly takes practice. Visually, I think the game looks fantastic, the water looks amazing, the boats look amazing, and as I mentioned, the physics are really good. The sense of speed and control on water, in my opinion, is unmatched even today. As well as standard races, the game also added 3 additional single player modes including a game mode called Ringmaster where you have to drive through a sequence of rings in the fastest time possible. On top of this, it also featured multiplayer with up to 4 players via split screen. And I love any game that has local multiplayer, so there we go. The game was released as part of the 3rd annual Xbox Live Summer of Arcade, if you guys remember those, alongside titles such as Limbo, which is pretty cool. Later on that same year, the game would also receive a DLC pack with 3 additional tracks and 2 additional boats, so it was nice to see some additional support for an Xbox Live Arcade title. The game went on to review pretty well, with a Metascore of 75 out of 100, which is still pretty good. The game sold very well on top of this, with the leaderboards registering over 300,000 players, as well as the DLC registering over 35,000 players, which is pretty good. If you want to pick this game up today, you can still buy and play this via backwards compatibility on Xbox One and Xbox Series for £8.30, which is a damn good price if you ask me for such a good game. And thankfully it's not a sad tale of the game being lost to the Xbox 360 store or the game getting delisted, so that's always a bonus for game preservation. I think this game is easily one of the best digital racers on the 360, and it's a reminder that arcade fun never goes out of style. But anyway, let's move on. Now before we go any further, if you're a fan of racing games, underrated games, or just video games in general, then why not hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications to stay up to date with my future uploads. And whilst you're at it, if you want to be the first to hear about all my upcoming projects, then join my Discord server using the link in the description below. Now that's enough plugging the channel, let's move back on to some underrated racing games. Now for something muddy, fast and full of airtime. Pure from Black Rock Studio and Disney Interactive. Black Rock Studio were formerly known as Climax Racing and Climax Brighton, who gave us titles from the MotoGP series, as well as Hot Wheels World Race, one of my personal favourites, and Crash and Burn. Anyway, let's focus on Pure. So, Pure is an off-road ATV racer that focused on stunts, flow, and verticality. It's definitely not about realism, it's about launching off cliffs, flipping your quad mid-air, and chaining tricks for massive boost rewards. The control feels snappy, and there's this rhythm you can fall into: jump, trick, land, boost, repeat. It's quite addicting in all honesty. What really made Pure stand out was its track design. Each race is packed with huge ramps, shortcuts, and alternate paths. There's also a deep customization system where you can build your ATV from the ground up. Every part, from frame to engine, affects performance. However, if you're not super into the customization, there's also just a button that makes a good build for you, so you don't have to worry about that if you're not interested. Visually, Pure still looks great today, with sprawling landscapes and impressive draw distance for its time, and the dirt and mud effects are pretty cool as well. Sadly, at least in my opinion, it was overshadowed by bigger names like MotorStorm and MX vs ATV Reflex, but Pure deserves to be mentioned in the same breath, maybe even above them. Now in terms of review scores, the Xbox 360 version out of the 3 different versions holds the highest score of 85 out of 100. It also went on to sell very well with just shy of 2.5 million copies sold. So how is this an underrated game, I hear you ask? Well, dear viewer, I think it's just been one that's forgotten over time and thus has fallen into the realms of underratedness, if that's even a word. If you disagree that it's underrated, that's also fine, but I hope you can agree that this is a fantastic game. I do miss that era where Disney Interactive Studios would publish non-Disney themed games, such as Pure, Spectrobes, or Split Second. It was a good time, and I wish we could go back to it. Now, these days, when you think Xbox racing, most people jump straight to Forza. But before that, there was Project Gotham Racing, and Project Gotham Racing 3, which was a launch title that redefined what stylish racing looked like. Now, I'm just going to clear the air here, this game was definitely not underrated at the time. No way. But it certainly has become that way now, with the focus shifting towards Forza as the years went on and Microsoft seemingly forgetting about this franchise's existence. Anyway, now that's cleared, let's talk about it. The game was developed by Bizarre Creations and launched alongside the console in 2005. Project Gotham Racing wasn't just about finishing first, it was about driving with style. The kudos system rewarded you for precision, clean lines, near misses, and perfect drifts. And this system had been perfected over previous releases, starting with Metropolis Street Racer all the way back on the Dreamcast. The game featured meticulously modelled cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, and real-world cities like London, Tokyo, and New York, all recreated in stunning detail for 2005. The attention to lighting, reflections, and atmosphere made it a true next-gen showcase. Even the soundtrack and ambient crowd noise added to the immersion. You could feel the city around you. Now, Project Gotham Racing 3 would go on to receive one more sequel, aptly titled Project Gotham Racing 4, but sadly, I'd say these have kind of faded into history after Bizarre Creations was bought by Activision and then closed down, so thanks a bunch guys. But revisiting it today, you realise how ahead of its time it was, striking perfect balance between arcade fun and simulation realism. Bizarre Creations had really perfected the formula they'd started all the way back on the Dreamcast. Now, in terms of critical response, the game received very positive review scores, holding an 88 out of 100 on Metacritic, with the game going on to sell over 600,000 copies, although I'm sure this is probably more, but those figures are from VG Charts. This is the second time I've discussed Project Gotham Racing 3 in an underrated racing games video, and I just love it so much. It's just such a good game. And it's such a shame that Bizarre Creations went the way it did, and we've not had a sequel since 4 all those years ago. In my opinion, it's a series that's distinct enough from Forza Horizon and Motorsport to stand by itself, and could have easily kept going today, had Activision not been total heads. But hey, what's new? Now moving on to our final game, we've got something tonally different. Joyride Turbo, an Xbox exclusive kart racer that started life as a Kinect game. Poor thing. Then reinvented itself the right way. The original Kinect Joyride was all motion controls and honestly not that great, but Joyride Turbo ditched all that, switched to traditional controller input, and instantly became so much better. It's bright, silly, and surprisingly competitive. So Joyride Turbo, much like its predecessor on the Kinect, was developed by Big Park and published by Microsoft themselves. The release came in May of 2012. It's kinda just Microsoft's Mario Kart and you just use your avatar, which is pretty cool. The tracks were bright and colourful and filled with shortcuts, hazards and collectible coins. You can explore massive stunt parks to find hidden cars and practice jumps, and the handling is exaggerated but also satisfying. Easy for beginners yet rewarding for skillful drifters. And best of all, and of course it's the best for me, it's 4-player split screen, which is still so rare these days. Whether you're racing with friends or just trying to beat your best lap time, Joyride Turbo is one of those games that proves you don't need realism to have fun, just good design and a sense of humour. Now again, thankfully Joyride Turbo is one of those games you can still pick up today, as it was one of the first 100 titles on the Xbox backwards compatibility list all the way back in November of 2015. I'm pretty sure this ended up being one of the games with gold games at some point, because I don't remember buying this, but it's a game that I do own on my Xbox. Now, Joyride Turbo is actually the lowest reviewed game in this video, with it currently holding a 67 out of 100 on Metacritic, so still not terrible, but not that great either. Personally, I don't get why the review score is quite low, because I had a blast with this game when I got it, but maybe that's just nostalgic bias talking. So there you have it, 5 underrated Xbox 360 racing games that absolutely deserve another lap. Whether you love realistic street racing, wild stunts, or pure arcade mayhem, the 360 era had something for everyone, and these titles prove it. So which of these games did you play back in the day? Or maybe you've got your own hidden gem from the 360 era. Let me know in the comments down below and maybe we'll make a sequel. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe and tap that bell for notifications to stay up to date with my future uploads. A massive thank you to my Patreon subscribers for the continued support, and all I have left to say is, I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.